The people of Venezuela mobilized in rejection to war and in favor of global peace. The march takes place in solidarity with the people of Iran in the face of the genocidal attacks of the Israeli regime. The people marched through the main avenues of the capital city of Caracas in solidarity with the Iranian people in the face of the genocidal onslaught of Tel Aviv. The demonstrators carried Iranian and Venezuelan flags as a symbol of union between the two nations. The Palestinian ambassador to Venezuela, Fadi al-Saben, accompanied the initiative of the Venezuelans and highlighted their solidarity and support in the midst of the difficulties, while demanding the cessation of the genocidal attacks of the Zionist regime of Israel against the Palestinian people. In the Altos Mirandinos of Venezuela, the mass and tour of the Dancing Devils of Yare took place as part of the religious festivity of Corpus Christi. Inscribed in 2012 as intangible cultural heritage of humanity, the Dancing Devils of Yare is a religious festivity that represents the triumph of good over evil. During the event, several men in devil's costumes danced outside the diocesan Eucharistic sanctuary in honor of the Holy Sacrament. Previously, the Diablada Yarense obtained the permission to dance in the Corpus Christi after its procession with Jesus Sacramentado towards the cross of Calvario for the traditional wake. In Brazil, the Recife municipal guard violently attacked leaders from three of Latin America's largest housing movements as they demanded the right to participate in an assembly that the city had claimed was open to the public. Here's our correspondent Brian Meir from the scene.
I'm standing at Recife's Municipal Conference of the Cities, where a group of social movements has just taken over the event, complaining that the mayor's office tried to keep them out of it. The Conference of the Cities system is a system of municipal, state, and then a national conference, which gives a level of control over urban policy nationwide to a system of democratically elected volunteer delegates. By law, 50% of these delegates have to come from poor people's social movements. What the social movements like the MLB, the MTST, affiliated with National Low-Income Housing Union, and the MNLM are arguing here in Recife is that Mayor João Campos' office pulled a series of dirty tricks, labeling some NGOs that have city contracts as social movements so they could get space to elect their own delegates in the conference, and limiting the amount of candidates from the social movement's office of delegate to just 2 or 3 per movement. So for now, they've burst in. The police tried to keep them out. I personally witnessed police officers beating protesters. I saw an elderly woman getting beaten by the city government's municipal guards who failed to block the people from coming in. And now they've simply rushed the stage, taken over the event, and they're sitting here and refusing to leave until the mayor cancels the conference and reschedules a new conference with more people's participation.
And we are going to move forward in the reinception of terrorist groups against Iraq, and after that, a violent escalation against Iran. The Zionist regime didn't expect the military capacity that have been demonstrated by Iran. Today the world knows that the Islamic Republic of Iran, amid very hard circumstances, the capacity of Netanyahu. It is a hard supremacy. The Zionist group, have been using the terrorist attacks through threats, religious threats, and the head of state of Iran, and this is a threat against the leader of a country that has 90 million inhabitants, that is part of the United Nations. Where is the United Nations going, Mr. Secretary General Antonio Guterres? Where the United Nations system is heading to? Where is it going? How is it possible that a president of a country and the prime minister of another country could threaten the life of a chief of staff, a head of state? Where is the United Nations going, and why is the world heading to a third world war and a nuclear war? That is why I congratulate the Venezuelan people, men and women, that have been taken to the streets of Caracas and all the national territory to scream no to war. We want peace. They are manipulating a lot in the great empowers, media empowers. They are saying that the attack, the illegal attack of Israel and Netanyahu against the people, Pacific people, peaceful people of Iran, is because they are enriching uranium and are preparing an atomic bomb. So from Venezuela we want to ask a very simple question that a little boy and a little girl could ask. Or is it that it is forbidden in the world to utilize nuclear energy to a peaceful for a peaceful purpose? Who forbid that? Is it forbidden in the world to use uranium, to use it to develop energy and offer energy for the people? And another question, another spicy question, is it that in the world it was forbidden that the countries, is it forbidden for the countries to have an atomic bomb? I do agree that countries should not have atomic bombs, but the United Nations must boost an agreement to denuclearize all the countries of the world and all the countries that have an own nuclear bombs. From Venezuela we suggest that and we propose this. Israel has an atomic bomb. So if Israel has an atomic bomb, it must be enforced to eliminate all the atomic bombs Israel has, and peace should prevail in the planet. We from Latin America have a treaty that do not allow the use of nuclear energy for military purposes. We have been using, through the Tlatelolco Treaty, we have been using nuclear energy for health purposes, and nuclear energy could be utilized in dozens of formulas for life to produce energy, electric energy, to cure cancer. How do you think that radiations are made? How radiations against cancer were discovered is because it uses nuclear energy. Iran, due to religious purposes, has said this a million times. Iran has said this, that they are, for an ethic belief through the Quran religious, it is forbidden for them the use of nuclear energy for nuclear bombs. This was said by the director of the intelligence agency, Tulsi Gabbard, for the current administration, said so in a report, a written report. Iran has no capacity and is not building an atomic bomb. And this was also said by the leader of the atomic bomb agency, an Italian man, Grossi, it's his name. He said so as well. Iran has mentioned this before. Netanyahu, who is the direct heir of Adolf Hitler, in his effort to put humanity towards a new world war, to dominate the world, as he has mentioned in several times, and the United States. I received a video to my account. Sometimes you at night scroll through some videos, and I received one yesterday, and I want to put it so you can see how Netanyahu is being the target of bullying, because he has been promoting this war for several decades, and he's been lying for several decades, in the same way that there was there was built a lie to invade Iraq, who mentioned that Saddam Hussein had powerful, massive arms of massive destruction, and it was a big lie. Today he has lied about Iran, and he's being amazed for the military superiority of Iran, which is being in its self-defense, has been exercising their legitimate right to self-defense. And as one of the highest authorities of Iran has mentioned, they have only utilized 5% of their real capacity, military capacity. And let's not mention their land combat. They are heirs of centuries of struggle, of legendary struggles. They spent 9 years battling in a war in their borders with Iraq, the Iraq of Saddam Hussein. NATO and the United States weaponized that conflict. Iran saw how 1 million women and men perished in this war, but Iran defeated the United States and also the Iraq of the Saddam Hussein. That's history. That's the history. That's the reality of the world we have. That they want to conquer this through missiles and bombs and war, threatening from Venezuela with the people on the streets mobilized. We raise our flags of peace and the world to abandon completely the bombs, nuclear bombs. And the first agreement we should do to de-arm the Zionist regime, de-arm it from nuclear bombs. Zero kills zero. This is how we say it from here. If tomorrow there is an announcement of dialogues with the foreign minister of Iran and also with a group of foreign ministers from Europe, Venezuela supports the diplomatic way for a ceasefire, how President Xi Jinping from China said, and also President Putin said, to begin a negotiation for a ceasefire. And so there should be negotiations for a great agreement that involves the Zionist regime and also the armament of nuclear bombs worldwide, and also to put some norms for the Zionist regime to respect Jordan, to respect Iran, Lebanon, and the whole world. Let's see, we have a video and a declaration from Netanyahu. I like to speak about this on national television because the world needs those who mention and talk with the truth. And I have the duty to speak truthfully for a future of peace. Listen to this very carefully to hear how this Netanyahu era of Hitler has been insisting for several decades to bomb Iran. Let's listen.
With Iran? Weren't we about to make a nuclear deal? Why did this have to go balmy on Iran now?
And by next spring, at most, by next summer, at current enrichment rates, they will have finished the medium enrichment and move on to the final stage.
Iran is months away from having a nuclear bomb, says Netanyahu, in 2012. Seriously, why did we have to bomb Iran now?
Iran is so dangerous. Weeks away from having the fissile material for an entire nuclear bombs.
Holy shit, that's why. Iran's only weeks away from having an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs, says Netanyahu. In 2015. 2015. Think about that. No, seriously, I'm not being facetious. I really want to know why we had to bomb Iran now.
We're going to show you Iran's secret nuclear files. Here's the warhead. Here's the bomb.
And that's from 2018.
and they make fun of them. If it wasn't so tragic, the situation, we could not be this worried. I want to mention here the implications of a nuclear war. They have announced the possible attack, as they have attempted so many times before but haven't succeeded, to keep bombing the nuclear facilities of Iran that have uranium. To destroy with bombs one of these facilities would mean that the whole continent, Asian continent, is going to be contaminated completely. The impact of contamination could reach millions of inhabitants from Asia, Africa, and beyond. Let's recall the contamination of Chernobyl power plant, and it was an accident. Imagine what would happen if bombs fell upon a nuclear facility. Donald Trump has commented on launching bombs that could destroy the power plants facilities that have uranium. How deep would be the contamination that could put at risk the lives of millions of inhabitants? Please put the camera close. This is the territory that was that belonged to Palestine. Then the United Nations decided to hand over part of that territory to build up the state of Israel, but with the condition of respecting the territory for a Palestinian state. Here it is, and this is the name, the West Bank, and this is the Gaza Strip that have been subjected to a genocide with thousands of deaths and also with many people living, the destruction of churches, homes, and the killing of thousands of children. They have wanted, they are going to impose an empire of control from here, from the Jordan River towards beyond Euphrates. There is an attack against Iran, which is a huge country. Iran is the heir of what it was at their time, the Persian Empire. You can research on this. And with all the tools of the artificial intelligence, I would highly recommend this. And this Asia, Western Asia, this is what it is called, the Middle East, which is a contamination, a destruction by bombs of the power plants that enriched uranium would imply a contamination, a total contamination to all of these countries, to Turkey, our beloved Turkey. This would be a direct contamination to also Iraq, which also have been subjected to bombs through lies of George Bush, killed millions of Iraqis by the Bush administration, also Lebanon, also Jordan. All of this are holy, sacred lands with great prophets like Abraham, where David was, where our Jesus Christ, Lord, was, and our great Mahomet. This is a sacred land, and it would have direct implications against our people from Kuwait, from United Arab Emirates, from Qatar, from Saudi Arabia, and let's not keep counting. The project of Benjamin Netanyahu is not to build this Zionist state. It is not that the purpose is not that. Their purpose is to control all the wealthiness that are inside this region, and also pursue afterwards the madness of conquer the world, like the same idea that had Hitler. This would be this could lead to a destructive World War III that would have already a nuclear purpose, as was advanced by Commander-in-Chief Fidel Castro.
Ahí la tenemos, aquí yo la tengo. Ustedes
Here
la
I
pueden ver en
have
pantalla. Esto lo
this
declaró Benjamín
idea.
Netanyahu.
Benjamin Netanyahu
Lo chequeé, de
declared
verdad
so,
lo declaró,
and I
lo
wanted to
declaró.
check this,
Hoy,
and he declared so
hoy,
today.
dijo el primer
He
ministro,
said, Prime Minister
Benjamín
said, Benjamin
Netanyahu,
Netanyahu
aseguró
said,
el jueves que Israel
assured
está
that on
cambiando la
Thursday
faz
that
del
Israel
mundo
is
con su guerra contra
changing
Irán.
the world in
Dijo
this
que
war
estamos
against
cambiando
Iran.
la
We are
faz del Medio
changing
Oriente. Y
the
ahora
face
dijo
of the
que
Middle
estamos
East, and they
cambiando
are
la
saying we are
faz del mundo.
changing the peace of
Quiere
the
decir que
world.
su proyecto es planetario.
That means that his project
delirio.
is a worldwide
Es un
project.
delirio.
It
Netanyahu
is
está
a
sufriendo de
delirium.
delirio
He
hitleriano.
is suffering a delirium, a
Venezuela
Hitler
aboga
delirium.
por
And
el derecho
Venezuela
internacional.
calls
Hacemos
for
el llamado a
international
los grandes
law.
líderes
We
del
are
mundo
calling for the great
que han
leaders of the world
reaccionado
that have
a Xi
reacted.
Jinping,
I want to
Vladimir Putin,
Xi Jinping,
Tayyip
Vladimir Putin,
Erdogan,
Tayyip
al
Erdogan,
príncipe heredero de
to the
Arabia
Prince,
Saudita,
Heir
al
Prince of Saudi
presidente el-Sisi de
Arabia, to the
Egipto y a
President
todos los
El-Sisi
reyes,
from Egypt, and all
presidentes, primeros
kings,
ministros
presidents,
del
first
Medio Oriente,
prime ministers
de
from
Asia
the Middle East
Occidental,
and Central
de Asia,
Asia,
y al
from
sistema de
Asia,
Naciones
and
Unidas
also the
a
United
que detengan
Nations
la
to
locura
stop
de
this
Benjamín
madness
Netanyahu y no nos lleve a una
of
guerra
Benjamin
nuclear
Netanyahu
que
that
sería
could lead us, the world,
nefasta
to a
para el
nuclear
destino
war
de la
that
humanidad.
would be
Venezuela vuelve a
horrendous
decir
for
en todos
the
los
future of
idiomas,
humanity.
no a la
Venezuela
guerra,
says
no
no
a la
to
guerra,
war,
no
no
a la
to
guerra,
war,
sí a la paz.
yes
Just
to
war,
peace.
just peace.